Welcome to the Wisdom of 21 Winning Women and Their Lessons. My name is Reverend Joy Dore, and I'll be your host today. The purpose of this summit is to empower, to inspire, educate women by showcasing the diverse experiences and wisdom of 21 accomplished women who have achieved success in their respective fields. The summit aims to create a platform for collaboration, learning, and networking, fostering a supportive community for women striving for excellence. Lastly, help women embrace their winning moments, regardless of how small or big, towards a successful and fulfilling life. And this time we are looking to empower, excel, embrace, and elevate. And in the studio today, we have my awesome coach, Thilan, who, is a leadership coach and mediator, helping leaders and teams discover their potential. Thailand has 30 plus years of professional experience, including 10 plus years as a leadership coach and a mediator. She works with teams and leaders across private, public, non-for-profit, and global organizations to build thriving leaders and teams. And I'm going to just let you guys, the audience, join me and welcome our coach for this day as she just tell us who she is, how she earned or learned what she's going to share here today with us. So, coach, it's your time. Let's go.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, and thank you so much to invite me to be part of your important summit, Joy. So I'm very blessed to be here. So yes, where I think the whole topic of empowerment and elevation of women is something that's very, very close to my heart. And so I'm really happy to share the little nuggets of wisdom that I have, picked up along my own journey. But it's also a little bit daunting, like, where do I start? Um, for me, it is really ultimately about for us women to dare to be authentic and to dare to have dreams and to dare to follow those dreams, because often what happens is that we kind of take care of everyone else and we are just kind of forgetting to fulfill our own needs. And a life well lived is a meaningful life in which you follow your passion, whatever that passion is. And so I think for me it is really important to be there for everyone, your family, your friends, but also to be there for myself. And that, I guess, has been an important part of my journey, to dare to say, I need time for myself, or I want to do this, and sorry, everyone else, sorry, family, but are you happy to sacrifice something? Because, this is going to better me and us in the future. So.
Oh, thank you so much. I like how you say that. When we have the few times that we spent, you were telling me about your background of, before you transited into what you're doing now, and what led you to make this decision of being a leadership coach and mediator. I know that your first career was a mediator. Now you included the leadership coach. Can you tell us your background, like what you did over the years and what you're passionate? Because right now you're more just doing it. You're passionate about doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I think when I'm looking back on my career, I've just been really blessed because I've always done things that I'm passionate about, but I also realized that I always dare to kind of get out of my comfort zone. And I started my career as a barrister, like, or a trial lawyer and attorney at law. And so I grew up with a real sense of justice. And my parents, our household was all about, yeah, equal rights and human rights and justice. And so I felt very strong as a teenager that that was what I wanted to do. And I graduated in the 90s, and like 1990 actually. And that was also a time where there weren't a lot of jobs. And I think now, when I think back, I really thought, okay, what fits well with me? And so I'm from the Netherlands, and we have a system. You can um, do commercial law, or you can do legal aid law, or you can do a combination of both. And so I had a few offers. And so I decided I need to do what sits well with me. And so I chose to do commercial law and legal aid because that gave me a great background. And so that was a great start of my career, but it was also very scary because I was 24 and I had to, be in the Supreme Court, and the other lawyer was a male in his 50s, wearing an Italian suit, thinking he was like God's gift to the legal profession. And so it was a time that I constantly had to kind of overcome my own imposter syndrome, work really hard to make sure that even I am a new lawyer, I am a great lawyer. And so that set a really good pace for my career. And then when I was practicing law for 5 years, I was asked, do you want to become a partner? But then I realized, and I had done an internship at the United Nations in Geneva, I realized I love this work, but there's more for me. And my dream was always to work for the United Nations. And you can kind of get into your career and it all goes automatic. So you have a new lease car, you have a partnership, but I thought, no, stop, wait a moment. What is it that I want? And so then I decided, no, I want to try and pursue that career for the United Nations, because if I don't try, and I end up like I am now in my 50s, I may regret it. If I try and I fail, at least I can say I've tried. So, because that was always a job that everybody wanted and was very difficult. So I ended up getting into the United Nations. And so and again, that was because I made a decision. I'm going to take time. I'm going to find out, how can you get a job? What do you need? And so I ended up working for an organization called Lawyers for Lawyers. And I went to Cambodia. I gave all my worldly goods up. And I actually ditched my great salary and my position, and I went to Cambodia, and there I found a job with the United Nations. And so I worked for 12 years there in Cambodia, Bosnia, and Herzegovina, and in The Hague at the War Crimes Tribunal. And again, within that UN career, I constantly had to reconsider, where am I and where would I like to go? And then I had some personal issues in my life when I was mid-career. My daughter was very ill, so she had potentially terminal illness, and so that took up some time. But once we got over that, I was again like, oh, where am I? What do I want to do? And ultimately we moved to Australia because I knew working for the United Nations is my dream, but not so good for my family if I go to another war crimes, a war zone or something. And so I came to Australia, and then I had to start all over again as an immigrant. And I think we had that discussion. And
Yes.
how difficult that is. So, and so I ended up as an HR manager, but my dream was always to start my own business. But I was also the breadwinner of my family. I've always been the breadwinner. My husband has been the stay-at-home dad. So it was very, very, very scary. But I thought, again, I have to do this because if I don't try, I'll despise myself for it. And so I started my business 10 years ago, and everyone said, no, you're not from Australia. And I live in Adelaide. This is a town where you need to know people. But I thought, no, I have to try it. And it's been very successful. And so I started the business because I was a mediator. After doing all the law stuff, I wanted to help people resolve conflicts in a different way. But then I had more and more realizing, working with teams, it was always about leadership. And so I thought, okay, I need to help the leaders. And so it was a natural progression for me to become a leadership coach, get all my certifications. So that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years. I've been for the last 10 years, I've been working with teams and leaders, but more and more coaching and training for the last 7 years or so. And so now I'm at this stage in my career where I just do again what I love. And sometimes I have to pinch myself like, oh my gosh, yeah, I have my own business, and I feel aligned with my values. And yes, it is scary at times, but it's also so fulfilling and meaningful. And I want to make a difference. I want to serve the world. Yeah.
Exactly, powerful. For you to actually dream to be with the United Nations, you really want to serve the world. So I can hear that from that. Yes, so powerful. For our audience listening and somebody who want to connect, like, they haven't something, but they don't know when the shift happen or when the shift is going to happen. I want you to just reflecting on your journey, like everything you've done. What personal experience, like, or turning points led you to pursue the career of leadership coaching? I know the Mediator was always there, is your educational background, but the leadership coaching now, what personal experience, that you have along the way that's okay, this is it, I have to do this?
Yeah, so I think I was from the day I started my professional career, I was in first instance a leader without a title. Because when you are a trial attorney, you lead your clients, you have to have a vision, you have to have all those leadership skills you have to influence the judge, you have to negotiate. So I never realized it. But when I started working for the United Nations, I became a leader with a position. I was the manager of the office where I worked. And then I continued my official leadership journey. But what happened was that, looking back, and even in that moment, I never had any real mentors. I never had any real training. I never had any real confidence and understanding what leadership was. So that's, I think, often happens when we're good at something and they say, oh yeah, we'll take Joy. She's really good at what she does, and you need to become a leader, but we don't really have those people skills. And so when I was started my own business, in which you also have to be a leader, because you have to have a vision, you have to have the self-motivation, you have to get other people on board, I started to realize, like, hey, that's what I want to do, coaching. And of course, because I worked on human rights and war crimes, I have seen a lot of bad leadership. And I worked as a barrister a lot with refugees. So I've heard a lot of stories from a lot of people from a lot of different countries, including my own country. I always, the Netherlands always think they're so great with everything they do, but they have done a lot of things. So I started to realize, what does the world need? The world need better leaders, and leaders need to get more support. And that's why I decided to become a leadership coach. But I had also kind of overcome my own fears of, am I good enough as a leader to be a leadership coach? What do I have to bring? And then I started to realize that, I do have to bring a lot, because I have that experience as a lawyer, but also as an HR manager, as a mediator. So now the leaders that I work with, yeah, it's very, very nice because they're always saying, oh my gosh, and you saved me, which I'm not I don't want to save people, but it's so nice to help people become more confident. That is the whole idea. Like often, like for instance, they need to have difficult conversations, and I was like that. I was a leader who wanted everyone to be happy. I wanted everyone to like me as a leader, and I didn't necessarily want to confront people. And so throughout my career, I've now learned, no, you have to have the difficult conversation. You have to deal with difficult people, and there are some people in your team who are hijacking the team or who are making things very difficult. When there's conflict, you can't just hope it goes away. So and that all takes skills and the confidence to do those things. And once you do that, you role model for other people how they can become better leaders, and for your team how you can communicate effectively, or how you make decisions, or what a vision is, and how to make bring your vision alive and those things. So
Yes.
in the end, if I look at the world, and I'm not going to give specific examples, but there's some really leaders, some of them really inspired by who empower the people around them, and who inspire them and help them become the best version of them and do what they want, whether it's working with homeless people or in a church or in a bank. And then there's leaders who are, yeah, putting lowering the morale of their people, who are very ego driven, who
Yes.
are just a leader for the status, who are power driven. And so yeah, I hope that answers a little
Yeah.
bit
Yeah.
your your
Yeah.
question, why I'm keen to help leaders. And then it has a ripple effect, because if I work with leaders and they become more aware of their own skills, and they become more confident, then they give that through to their people, who then become more confident and help the world in their way and create more impact. And their families will be happier if they are happy at work and do something that's meaningful for them.
Yes. Yes. Trust me, it was like, this is on point. You just answered it, how all our audience, I believe, will be blessed, because it's just a journey that you had a ton. You have everything to give. So why don't I take it as, professional now? So, which
Yeah.
is, I like how you started it. It said when you were a barrister, lawyer, you were a leader without a title. I love that. So,
Yes,
and that
yes.
bring me something you said towards to the end, bring me to the next question I'm going to ask you, right? When working
Mhm.
with leaders, how do you approach conflicts, and what simple strategies do you recommend for resolution?
Yeah. So I personally believe that conflict is a part and parcel of life. So conflict is actually a given. If we look at history, there's always been conflict. People have, difference of opinions, different religions, different political ideas, different cultures, different backgrounds, different values. But that in itself is not so much an issue, but the way we deal with conflict is the issue. So I always say that, and I had to learn this, to switch it around. So most people are really worried when there's conflict, and they are mostly worried that it will escalate and get worse. So a lot of the leaders that I work with, they kind of don't want to go into the conflict. But I always say, like, you need to see conflict as an opportunity, to actually deepen relationships and to clarify issues and to really transform things and change things. And so once, because we're as human beings, like because we lived in tribes and still live in tribes, we are not hardwired for conflict. So some people love conflict, but most people don't like it at all, because when we were living in a tribe, if we were that person who was constantly having conflict with everyone, we would be, kicked out of the tribe, and we would be on our own and we wouldn't survive. So I always say most people are not hardwired to be okay with conflict, to be comfortable with it. But the reality is that, it is a given and we need to deal with conflict, but see it as an opportunity. Instead of running away from it, saying, hey, if I step into this conflict well, then what I can do is I can actually resolve this conflict. And so the key to that is to have open and honest conversations. And so I always say, because I also teach mediators, like to be the difference between a good mediator and a great mediator is that a great mediator goes into all the difficult stuff. And as a leader, you need to do that as well. But we tend to not do that. So as a mediator, I see myself as a doctor who goes into the wound and cleans it all out and gets all the infection and all the stuff, icky stuff out, and says, okay, this is now all out and now it can heal. So, but with conflict, it's the same. If you have as a leader in your community or in your team conflict, you need to help people to talk about it and to say, okay, what is actually happening here? And then underneath conflict, there's always this clash, I say, of values and needs. So it's often that two people clash about their needs. So their needs, what is really important for them. So, you can have like somebody who's always leaving really early, and that's irritating the other person who's always staying late and working hard. And just to understand, okay, how come you leave early, or what is important for you? And then why is it important for you to stay late? And just to understand. And often you see that, the person who leaves early says, oh, family is really important for me. And the person who leaves late says, like, well, what's really important for me is my own personal career. And just to understand where it's all coming from, and then say, okay, let's hear the story from your perspective. Because when there's conflict, people make stories up all the time. Like sometimes I've done thousands of mediations, and the stories I hear, Joy, it's like there's one set of facts, one thing that happened, and like 5 people witnessed it. They've all have 5 different versions of what happened and why it happened. They did that on purpose, or he did that to get back at me, and it's all stories in our head. But if we say, okay, let's just sit down and talk about it, and just don't try and judge, but just try to be curious and hear each other's story, and then say, okay, now that we know each other's perspective, what can we do to move forward? And that is very powerful. But most leaders either say, that's it, we don't want conflicts, you do this and you do that, and I don't want to talk about this anymore. Some people say to me, I said to them, you're not high school kids, and they think that's their way of resolving the problem. But then it comes back, because conflict festers. If people feel misunderstood, resentful, it will come back 2 months later or so. And then the other way to go about it is that there's some leaders who are just trying to appease everyone and being a people's pleaser, and just say, oh yeah, no, oh yeah, you want this, I'll give you that, and you want that, I'll give you that. And that doesn't work either. So a great leader just says, hey guys, there's some stuff happening here, there's some issues. Let's have a discussion about it. Let's try and be curious where we're coming from. So what's your side of the story? What's your side of the story? How can you actually work together? Because we are in this business to do, I just say something protect animals, and that's our common goal. And you guys need to work together. And this is an opportunity to get to understand a bit better where you're coming from, and look at creative solutions, and then you can come to a win-win situation. I can talk about this for a whole day because I do like training, conflict training for a whole day. So I'm sorry, but I'm trying to get the gist is like, when you're a leader and there's conflict, don't think it will go away. If you feel uncomfortable, be okay with that, because that is the reality. Unless you are, you know, some kind of sociopath. Most people don't like conflict, or like some lawyers love conflict, but most people don't like conflict, and just accept that and say, okay, I don't like conflict, but I'm a leader now. I need to help other people, and I need to see this conflict as an opportunity for all of us to change and to move forward. So I need to be the better person. I need to help them resolve this conflict. And then once you're doing that, you give people some responsibility as well. So I've got an online training. It's called Confident with Conflict, because you need to be confident with a conflict. And then you help people and you empower people to speak up. I always love this Winston Churchill quote that I often use for mediations, and that is, it takes courage to stand up and speak up, and it also takes courage to sit down and listen. And so conflict resolution is all around speaking up for what is important for you. So to listen to what is important for the other person. And it's not that scary. And that's what the leaders I work with start to realize then. Like, oh my gosh, I can actually do this. It's not going to escalate, because I can make sure that emotions stay okay. And if it gets too much, we can say, we're stopping this conversation. It's getting too emotional. Let's move on. Let's stop for now and come back to it later. And so they start to have that confidence, and then you can see that things are really changing. And then when we are like that as leaders, then our people start to realize, hey, you know, this person is strong, as in dares to have difficult conversations, resolves conflicts, performance manages people and stuff. But this person is also warm, as in we can connect with us. And I really believe that if we are warm people and strong people, then we are great leaders, and people will respect us and feel inspired and go the extra mile for us.
Wow, this is great. Trust me, Coach, you blessing me today. Oh my God. This is like, you remind me the ministry of the Holy Spirit, you know, the mediator. I like, and listening to you, I feel like I'm in the presence of truly a mediator, you know, because yeah, seriously, a lot of leaders have had time to handle conflict. It's a serious thing. And everybody listening right now, our coach just give us the right path. You know, Ty just give us the right path to becoming a great leader. And what you just said is face it. Don't hide from it. Call it what is it. Don't even bury it. Let's sure it come out. Everybody speak their mind in an environment that is okay. And if you're getting too much, create another day. Go home and let's start again someday. That is, trust me, I love it. I love it. And that is going to bring me to the next question for you as we go. Can you share a practical example of how your coaching and meditation, which is the mediator skills, have contributed to improve leadership within an organization?
Oh, okay. Well, so I have many examples, but the maybe the easiest ones always are like I've worked with a lot of organizations, and of course I always like to, especially when it comes to conflict, I don't like to give names. But for instance, I worked with a lot of schools because I was an HR manager for a school. I also worked with like university departments I've worked with NGOs, I've worked with small businesses, but I like to take the example of a school because often I'm asked to work with schools where there is really a low morale. So where people feel like between the teachers and the leadership, there is this distrust. And so there is this feeling that they're not valued, they're taken for granted, they're not listened to. And so when I come in, I often then have to work with, okay, what is actually happening here? Because of the stories, everyone has a different story. So what I then do is I just talk to, I can't talk to 100 people. I mean, I could, but um, so I always say I'd like to talk to like people who have been here for a long time, people who are new. I want to talk to teachers, and here what we call in Australia is school support officers. I don't know, like people who are not teachers but are working in the classroom with the teacher. I want to talk to admin staff, and then I get a kind of an assessment what is actually happening. And so when I come in, people are really, you can almost like cut the air with a knife. There's so much tension. And why I want to take the example of a school is because it's so sad, because kids, they are so sensitive and they know that something is happening. They can't really, like if we take a primary school, they can't really pinpoint what it is, but they can feel things are not right. And so I feel that all our children should be in a safe environment, in a loving, inspiring environment. So when there's all that toxicity and that low morale, and so then I come in and I always want to work with the school, with the team, because I always say, like, I come in here and I go out again, but you work here. So it's around your workplace culture. And then we start having these opening, honest conversations. Like, what is it that's really bothering you? And I report back what people have told me in confidence. And I say, no, okay, so it seems like you never get support when there is bad behavior from children, or your principal is never available, or this or that, all the issues that they have. And then we start to have those conversations, and then people start to realize, like, okay, yeah, it's easy to pinpoint at leadership. You do this wrong, that wrong, and but you're also contributing. I then say, what is it that you're contributing? And then people start realizing, yeah, I come to work and I'm already having, I don't trust this person. I have a story in my mind about that person. I'm not showing up as my best self anymore. And so when we all flesh that out and then say, okay, how can you all work together? I'll make a long story short. Then they come up with some guidelines and some rules and some expectations, and they have these open conversations, like the opening of the wound, getting it all out, to say, okay, this, then we come to, okay, this, you now know most of the things and you know what you think about it all from a different perspective. But that is in the past. We can't change the past. It's happened. We now need to look at the future. What is it you want to do with the future? Do you want to be a school where there's happy kids, where you have great results? And what do you need to do that? And how can you work all together and leave the past behind? And that's when really the magic starts. And then I leave the school, it is very different from the first time I went there. And then later, I meet people and say, like, oh, Thilan, thank you so much. The school is completely different now. And so that can be a school. So I've worked a lot with schools, but like I said, I've had like university departments with professors who are all like world's leading experts on their topic, but really unhappy at work because there's so much conflict and nobody ever talks about it. And the same happens there. And or whether it's an NGO or, I was so it's a very rewarding job, because it's icky when you come in, it's difficult, and people get really affected by it. They lose sleep, they are taking antidepressants, they're seeing a doctor, they want to change jobs, sometimes they can't change jobs, so they feel really stuck. And if as a leader, if you see that situation, really good people, talented people will leave and say, like, I didn't sign up for this, you know, if nothing's happening here and it's toxic. And the not so good people will stay because they can't find a job somewhere else. I'm being a little bit judgmental now, but you know what I mean. And then you're going down a spiral. But if you say, okay, that's it, we need to do something, I'm going to lovingly call this out, respectfully call this out, enough is enough. Everyone needs to take responsibility, and we need to know what's actually happening, where all this resentment, anger, frustration, sadness is coming from. Let's have these conversations, and let's not feel attacked. Let's not start defending ourselves. Even as a leader, I always say, like, be curious instead of furious. And so it's all good and well when we're in a good situation, but when we're in conflict, we're heightened, and it's not easy to have empathy for other people or to really listen to other people. But if we can stay curious instead of furious, that is really powerful. And most people, that's the last thing I'll say, most people haven't learned how to deal with conflict. I hadn't learned how to deal with conflicts because, we don't really teach that at schools. Like, what is conflict? What's the core of a conflict? What's actually happening for me? How can I resolve this? So as a leader, we need to help people instead of saying, oh, they're, acting like kids in a sandpit, which is true. I can't be bothered with that. No, we should say they're acting like kids in a sandpit because they've never really learned the skills and the tools how to resolve conflicts. I am going to help these people to resolve the conflict for the betterment of our team and our bigger goal.
So powerful. Oh my God. Having you here today, or anybody that really, in fact, you can actually have a school to teach how to be a mediator. In fact, you just loaded with everything that people need to know, because this is like everyday people you're dealing with. And that is why I love it. So thank you so much for those, you elaborate the whole process and make it easy that anybody can learn from there. So, and that is going to take me to the next question I have now, and that question is going to be, in your experience, how does adapting your approach to different leadership styles contribute to effective coaching and, like the mediatorship? I don't know if you get that. How does your, like adopting how you do it, which
Yeah.
you have said a lot, but just like somebody that's okay, I'm like you, but I'm not approaching. I don't think I'm getting results in my own approach. How do you bring them to adopt your own approach to all that you do?
Yeah. So I think the crux to anything is, whether we lead people or we train people or we coach people, is to really understand a little bit what makes people tick. And so when we understand what makes people tick, we can actually adapt our approach. So there's so many things I want to say, but I'll start with something simple. So for instance, to understand, are you a big picture person? Like, if you look at the DISC test, like, are you a big picture person, or are you a detailed person? Are you a person who thinks and makes decisions with the head, very rational? Or are you a person who makes decisions with the heart? You're more like a feelings person. And so to understand that really helps. So I know myself, I'm a big picture person, and I sit in between making decisions with my head. So that is my lawyer's background, but I'm I'm also a feelings person. I need to feel right, a gut feeling person. So for instance, if I coach someone, so I coach a lot of like engineers or people who are chief financial officers. And so I'm making some assumptions, but when you are an engineer or a chief financial officer, you're a very detailed person and you're a very process-driven person. So for me to connect with people is if I know that you're a very detailed person, I need to step up a bit because I'm not very much into the details, but I know that details are important, processes are important. So if I want to connect with someone like that, and like I said, I do coach a lot of people like that, I need to say, okay, this is what works for those people. If I start talking about like, oh, this is the bigger picture and just follow your gut feeling, it's not going to work because that's not what makes them tick. And so that's just one example. So for instance, I will send them an email and say, okay, next coaching session, it's going to be an hour. This is the kind of topic we start with, or these are the questions. And they want to know things. But if I have a person who is a big picture person, who is a feelings person, they don't need a process. They just need to know. I'll say like, oh, we're going to be coaching, and at the end of the coaching session, you feel a lot of clarity, you feel relieved, and you know how to move forward towards your bigger picture. So that's just a small example, but that's also when you're a leader and you coach your own people, because like I always work with leaders, like you said, how to mediate, but also how to coach other people. And so we just need to understand it. Is this person an introvert or is this person an extrovert? And all these things really help. And that's how we adapt. So if I coach, like say, I was coaching, so I'm coaching CEOs, but I was also coaching someone who was in his 60s and he had very little education and he worked for the council. I don't know the official title, but the person who goes picks up all the rubbish for the council. I don't know. And so, but this person was a union leader, but he got angry all the time when they were trying to have negotiations between the council executive and the union. He would just get really, really angry. And so, and then he would end up sitting like this. He told me he'll just sit like this and stare out of the window for the whole hour. So the executive had said to me, can you please coach him? And so when I coach a person like that, I'm not going to come in and say like, oh, I'm Thilan, I used to be a barrister and I'm very this and that. But I say like, hey, I need to come to their level and say like, hey, so you're a union guy. You want to have more influence. You want to negotiate better for your people. How's that going at the moment? And then they say, no, it's not going well because I get really angry. Okay, what do you want to work on? I adapt my style. That's what I'm trying to say. I adapt my style to the person in front of me. And that works really well. So whether I'm negotiating or I'm working in the UN, I used to work a lot with diplomats, with ministers, or whether I'm working with someone from the council, I just look, how can I connect with this person? What makes them tick? And how can I find a way for that person to think, hey, she's got something interesting to teach me.
Yes, I believe that too. You say I come to their level. If they are up there, I go up there with them. If they're down here, I stay down here with them so that they can have that, that chemistry between us and open up. That's what I hear.
Yeah,
So
chemistry. I love the chemistry. Yeah.
yes, yes. So I'm so, oh my God, it's been an awesome time with you. And that is going to bring me to the last, and everybody will be waiting for right now, I believe, which is how will people who want to do exactly what you do or do and find you or connect with you, right? And also tell us about the free gift you have for our audience today. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So I thought the free gift I want to give the audience is something that has really helped thousands of leaders. And that is what I call the difficult conversation roadmap. So I've got a PDF which really completely shows you how to prepare for and how to have a difficult conversation. And so to no longer avoid these issues. And so I have tested that with thousands of leaders, and everyone says it's very useful. So I thought that's what I want to share with your leaders, because yeah, those difficult conversations makes all the difference in if are we being seen as strong leaders that people respect, and not just warm leaders. And so, yeah, so I have a very unusual name. So, but my website is my name. So, thilanlegierse.com. And I also have a podcast, The Leaders Den, but I also have an online community, which is called The Leaders Den. And so I really love coaching, but the reality is that coaching is not affordable for everyone, one-on-one coaching. So I started an online community with people from all over the globe, where leaders come together from all, how do you call it, industries and all backgrounds. That's what I love, because we all have something in common.
Yes.
Whether we're an engineer or a director of nursing or a school principal. And yeah, that's where my passion is. And so you can find more about that. It's called theleadersden.com, but it's also linked on my website. So yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook. I'm the only person with this name in the world. So just Google me and I can't hide. You'll find everything planet internet knows about me. But also if you want to connect with me, I invite everyone who is listening and saying, hey, this resonates with me, to connect with me. That would be wonderful. And just I think really realize as a woman, like, yeah, we have a voice, we have power, and it's really important to overcome those little voices in our head and our imposter syndrome. We only have, as far as I'm aware, at this moment in time, this only the life we have for now,
Mhm.
and just
Yes.
try and really be a servant, serve to society, do the things that we're really good at, and enjoy life, but also keep growing while you're enjoying life, and you're trying to make the world a better place. So if there's anything I can do for those people, then find me and connect with me.
Sure. Thank you so much, Thilan. Yes. Now I call it right. I
Oh,
want to
that's okay.
hear it
I'm so
again.
sorry. I didn't want to interrupt you, because I listen to anything. People call me Thailand,
Yeah,
like
which is how I
Thilan,
call it. I was discussing it earlier with my VR, like they sound like that. She said, yeah, that's why she's from Asia too. So Thilan, yes, all the exams, how we do it. We are a community of people collaborating, people coming together to just bring joy to you and elevate you, like move you from where you are now to where you want to be. Every one of us started from scratch, face all our fear. Like today, I can tell you that Thilan moving from Cambodia, right, to Australia. She had to face her fears when she got to Australia to make it work. And here she is today, running a successful business with no fear of loss, nothing. She's still maintained being the breadwinner. Moving from Cambodia to Australia didn't stop her from launching her business as a leader. So what more do you need? So we need to learn from the best, which will have the best in the house. So, and that will be it. We just want to thank you, Coach Thilan, for coming in today to share an amazing information. And we also ask you, the audience, not to forget to tune in for the next interview, because we have 21, I call them accomplished winning women, people who are just ready. They are passionate, they are ready, and they want to help you. So with that said, we just want to say thank you and bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.